So thank you for having me here this evening. My name is Sue Counts, and I'm running for North Carolina House District 93, representing the good people of Ashe and Watauga counties. I want to thank you again for allowing me to be here today or this evening, and for giving me a chance to tell you what kind of person I am and what kind of people that I come from. Because doesn't knowing that give you the best insight into the true character of a man, or in this case, the true character of a woman? Doesn't a life story, its dreams, both met and unmet, its challenges, won and lost, and its celebrations and defeats, give you the best picture of how your representative will serve you, or in some cases, serve you up when push comes to shove down in the Raleigh legislature? I'm going to give you some background on who I really am, and some of you know me already, and I think you'll learn even more about me. Dee's sitting over here, and we go back to 1993. So I grew up 100 miles from here in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia in a little community called Sand Lick in Dickinson County. All my people lived in Sand Lick because my family was the first to settle there. And since we were and still are a people who value family and family ties above all else, we just stayed put. I grew up about a half a mile from where my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Fightin' Dick Colley, built his three-wall log cabin in the early 1800s. And I lived within walking distance of my small elementary school, which was 3 rooms, and the Sand Lick Primitive Baptist Church, a church where generations of my grandfathers preached over the years with great gusto and insight. My maternal grandfather, died when he was only 39. He left my grandmother with 7 children, a 50-acre farm, and no money. My grandmother, a woman whose strength and determination I aspired to all my life, loaded up her horse every Saturday with farm produce, her vegetables, her fruits, honey, eggs, to make the 3-mile trek to sell enough produce to the townspeople to get the family through the week. During World War II, our old farmhouse was in desperate need of a new roof, but there was no money in the cookie jar to make that happen. So my grandmother unloaded her horse, packed her bag, and headed for Detroit, Michigan to take a factory job making parts for airplanes to raise enough money to keep rain off the family's head. Sometimes military service offered the best prospects for the future for my family. 3 of my brothers served their country in the military, and my husband served during the Vietnam War. My father served our country with honor during World War II. He landed on Omaha Beach and was wounded twice, taken prisoner of war by the Germans at the Battle of the Bulge. He returned home sad and a broken man. 3 days after he was discharged in November 1945, he took his own life as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder. While we won the war, he lost his future. My mother was now left with 2 little girls and pregnant with my little brother. She, like my grandmother, drew herself up above the tragedy, and put enough money together to buy our Sandlick home with the insurance money. She then rented the upstairs out to provide a modest income for our family. When I was 7 years old, there was a knock at the door. Mother and the three of us little children opened the door to find a tall man wearing coveralls and a belt of carpenter tools. Daddy Bryce. Daddy Bryce was smitten with Mother from the start, and they married 2 months later. Daddy Bryce loved life with his newly formed family. His, hers, and eventually theirs. 9 of us in all. And he changed my life forever. He could play the fiddle and the banjo. He was dedicated to the community and community service. And he was also a political activist. By the age of 8, I was riding to the polls with him on election day, delivering the ballots to the county seat, and then rushing home to await the returns. Like other Appalachian kinships, the school and the church were the center of our community. Our teachers had tremendous and well-deserved community respect, and we children received a good education because of it. I loved learning and took every remote possibility to learn more. I worked hard at my studies, and through a combination of resolve, family and community support, and because there was a GI Bill for war orphans, I was the first person in my family to go to college. Virginia's land-grant university, Virginia Tech, where I received degrees in home economics with a concentration in foods and nutrition. During my first year at Tech, there were 5,000 men and 100 women on campus. I married one of those Tech men, and I have 2 beautiful daughters and 4 wonderful grandchildren. I've moved through my life making the most of the jobs that I've had at the local, state, and federal levels, teaching, educating mothers and children at the health department, and finally, at the age of 50, taking a job with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension. I found my true love in extension work, and I excelled in it. I worked with the Appalachian Leadership Initiative on Cancer with Dee here. This project was in Ashe County, Allegheny County, Wilkes, and Surry counties. And we formed coalitions to educate and assist women to receive cancer screenings. In 1997, I became the Watauga County Extension Director, where I helped expand programs in the Christmas tree Choose and Cut, and I initiated programs in sustainable agriculture and sustainable energy. I helped to start the Blue Ridge Women in Agriculture, Mountain Keepers, High Country Amigos, and the Appalachian Regional Initiative on Sustainable Energy. By the time I retired, my mother required 24/7 because she suffered from Alzheimer's, a terrible disease that can really down even the strongest of families. But this experience really turned out to be one of the most devastating and yet uplifting periods of my life. Those of you who have experienced a similar lesson know what I mean. In fact, I'm really thankful that I was given the gift of being with Mother over her last 2.5 years of her life. She delivered me into the world, and I had the honor of seeing her into the next. My life experiences and the people who played such an important part in them have made me who I am today. I am unafraid to take life's hard knocks and can find my footing in their wake. I know what it's like to find an empty cookie jar on the counter and can still figure out a way to keep out of the rain, just like my grandmothers taught me to do. I know that platitudes of support aren't enough for our veterans. It's usually the very poorest among us who fight our wars and who sacrifice their futures so that we can have ours, just like my father did. I know that our churches offer us hope, solace, and a sense of community and fellowship, that inspirational Sunday lessons can hold families together for generations, just like my great-great-great-grandfathers did. I know that our public schools are the backbones of our communities and offer us the very best hope for our children's future and success, just like my Sandlick School did for me. I know the importance of participating in our democracy, the importance of standing up for that democracy, and the importance of putting yourself forward for that democracy, just like Daddy Bryce taught me. I know that improving the lives of others is the greatest calling and the most fulfilling and essential offering we can give to our fellow citizens, just like my work in cooperative extension taught me. I know that being there when it counts the most is the most valuable gift you can give or receive, just like my mother taught me in her final days. I know that the most important victories never come easy, and that when you can't get through the front door, you double your efforts and find another way in through the back. That's what my last race to take the soul of our state back against a radical and undemocratic state legislature taught me in 2014. The most charitable thing we can say about our state legislature is that it's lost its way. The more likely scenario, however, is that our representatives are headed exactly the way they intend to go, but without any moral compass or sense of service whatsoever. Most of us have seen the devastation we have been left with as the waters have receded from the actions of our Raleigh legislators. They have concentrated their own power while at the same time diminishing the power of the people. They have set up changes to our campaign finance laws to allow their own leadership to control. Excuse me. They have rewarded and punished those who don't vote the way the leadership wants them to vote by simply buying those votes. In the name of political ideology, they have stolen from our public schools to finance private ones. They have pushed down our state to the next to the last state in the nation for teachers. Only now we're in front of West Virginia. Teachers are fleeing our state. Education is a primary target all the way around. The politicians in Raleigh have now set their sights on our university system, once the best system in the nation, and they've installed a board of governors completely driven not by the love of learning, but by political ideology. While insisting they believe in smaller government, the Raleigh legislature has passed laws taking away the rights of landowners and local governments to place even modest regulations on fracking in their communities. And for good measure, they actually criminalized the disclosure of the chemicals found in the fracking fluids. Meanwhile, even though our state ranked second in the nation in solar installations last year, Duke Energy wasn't happy. So our state legislature eliminated mandatory minimums on how much renewable energy utility companies must offer their customers, while insisting they do not support higher taxes for anyone. The Raleigh politicians instead lowered them for the top 1% of North Carolina wage earners and then offset the cost of that tax break with new taxes on washing machines, car repairs, and movie tickets for working families who are trying to make ends meet. Then they got rid of the state's most effective anti-poverty tool, the Earned Income Tax Credit, a credit that even Ronald Reagan gave. He applauded that. It was a hand up for working families who, even working 2 or 3 jobs, couldn't make ends meet, and they couldn't avoid living paycheck to paycheck and escape poverty. Then our state legislature decided that the best way to save money the state was spending on health care was to deny decent health care to 1.8 million poor children, disabled people, and the elderly in the state who use Medicaid. So this year they voted to privatize the state's Medicaid system by putting decisions about patient care under the watchful eyes of stockholders for managed care systems. The Raleigh politicians have broken our state constitution-given rights to free and fair elections. They have consolidated precincts across the state where voters who do not support them vote. They have moved polling locations as far away from progressive precincts and public transportation as possible, and have cut early voting days and hours. Then they claim that the resulting long lines at polling locations are actually the result of increased interest in elections. The Raleigh State Legislature knows that we, the people, aren't happy with the way things are going. They know that the latest PPP poll in September shows them a mere 14% approval rating. That's why they had to pull a rabbit out of the hat to ensure continued control of the state's highest court by passing a law that prevents anyone from even filing to run against incumbent Republican Supreme Court Justice Edmonds. Wow. Now, I ask you, is this what democracy looks like? Are these the actions of people who have any kind of respect for working people, who have to scratch their way through the undergrowth to better their own lives and the lives of their children? Are these the actions of people who have respect for others and for our constitutional rights? Are these the actions of people who actually believe the golden rule they quote so easily with hand over heart? Are these the actions of people who favor family values over the value of silver and gold? I ran in 2014 against incumbent Jonathan Jordan, who votes in lockstep with the Raleigh leadership and contrary to the interest and well-being of his constituents. I lost, but I did not feel defeated. I've never been a quitter, and I'm not going to start now when so much is at stake. Not when I have a duty and the ability to make people's lives better. And not when I have the inspiring ghost and history of my grandmother, my mother, Daddy Bryce, and my other ancestors standing behind me. My desire is to be of service to the people of North Carolina, especially the people of Ashe and Watauga counties. I commit to you that I will stand on principle and do right by you and your families in Raleigh, that I will work to lead our great state back from the brink, that I will not dodge hard decisions and will live by the golden rule when making them. That I will honor the history and sacrifice of my ancestors and your ancestors. All I need is good people like here tonight. Good people who will go with me door to door, who will make phone calls, who will tell their neighbors to go vote in the primary on March 15th, and who will get out and have people vote come November. And we can do this together. We can do it together. So I'd love for all of you to volunteer for me and make a donation tonight. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
You don't have to, because we're going to vote for you.
Well, I know you did some campaigning with me last time.
Oh, I loved it.
Melba and Patty, my goodness, Patty and I had such fun together. And I'm ready to do that again, and I will give it all I've got.
I know you will.
Yeah, so.
That's true, you don't have opposition in the primary, do you?
I do have opposition in the primary. My opposition is Ronnie Marsh, and so that makes it even more important for you to come out and vote and have all your neighbors come out and vote on March 15th.
Well, you won in Watauga.
I did last time in 2014.
So we just need to work a little harder here.
Well, I'm willing to work really hard in both counties to make it happen. So, and I want to thank Lonnie and Chris back there and Ben for coming with me to videotape this, because we wanted a videotape of the kickoff speech. And I appreciate everyone being here and the opportunity to do this.
I appreciate your insight and believe everything you said that's going on in Raleigh, but it comes right down, it's going on right here in Ashe County with the Republican Health Commissioner.
Uh-huh.
It is.
Yeah.
And all the things they've tried to do, contrary to what really needs to be done for the people. We have 3 candidates here,
Uh-huh.
one of them which was hounded.
Uh-huh.
believe it,
Yeah.
And was, we've lost 2 very good, competent county managers.
Uh-huh.
And,
Yes. I'm well aware of that.
So we've not only got the fight to get you in,
Mm-hmm.
we've got the fight to change the tone of the commissioners
Yes.
and try to restore some sanity back in this county.
I agree 100%. I'm making calls now, and I've probably, how many calls did you say you thought I'd made?
Over 700.
Over 700 calls. And I'm really getting some good response. But it was interesting today. I went over to Staples, and the young man who helped me at Staples, he said, "Aren't you running for something?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm running for North Carolina State House, District 93." And he said, "Well, I'm a registered Republican, but I am not going to vote Republican this time." He said, "I'm going to vote for Roy Cooper, and I'm going to vote," he said, "I hope Bernie gets in." And so I thought, this is coming from a young man who is a registered Republican, and he wants change. And so if there are enough Republicans who really can see that there needs to be change, I think we, have a real good chance of electing some good Democrats.
One of the great frustrations I had when I ran the last time was trying to get educators involved. And that has been the hardest thing for me to do, even though how they can't see how they're being just destroyed, and the public education system being destroyed. And our representative, how many private schools do we have in Ashe County?
And yet they're,
We're
yeah,
spending our money somewhere else, and he
Uh-huh.
votes
yeah.
right against Ashe and
And
Watauga.
Watauga County, that's right.
And it's
Yeah.
not like, we've got private schools here that can take advantage of some of the freebies that they're giving out.
Uh-huh, yeah. You know what surprised me the last time? I saw some numbers of the percentage of teachers who voted, very low percentage of teachers. And it shocked me at first that, especially teachers should be voting. With all that's happening in public education, the teachers should be voting. But it was a very low percentage of teachers that were voting across the state of North Carolina.
And some of them that have talked to us privately say they're afraid that they'll lose their jobs and that things will go wrong if they speak out. And it's sad. That's like going back 50 years.
It is.
But voting doesn't necessarily mean you're speaking out. I mean, that's a pretty quiet thing. You just have to get them to vote.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have to do this time, is really getting people to the polls. Now, in a presidential election, we have more Democrats that go to the polls to vote. But we really need to focus on getting those people who are registered out to vote. And however we can do that, I guess there were a few years after I retired. I couldn't be real active in politics before I retired. But after I retired, I had the opportunity. And so I would, drive people to the polls. And I'll tell you, it's very rewarding to drive a 94-year-old to the polls and have that 94-year-old be able to vote.
Makes you cry.
Yeah, it does. I mean, to me, that was the most rewarding thing that I did all year, was to take that 94-year-old to the polls. So that's what we could do, right, Donna? Yeah, open discussion, however you want to do it, Patty. Thank you.